When we are young, we look up to our parents and grandparents because they are full of love and wisdom. And in many cases, we are motivated by their words, actions, and advice. This morning, as part of our book author series, award-winning author Tom McQueen joins us to talk about his book, Letters to Ethan. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Christy. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, I'm so glad you're here because this book really means the world to me, and I'm going to tell you in just a few minutes. But first, tell me why you wrote it.
Actually, there were two events that happened in my life. On April 9th, 1980, my son Joe was born, and I had a chance to be in the delivery room and actually watch the miracle of life come into the world and happen.
And it's amazing.
It's amazing. And when I went home that night, I was by myself, and I took out a pad and a pen, and I wrote him a letter. I said, "Dear Joe," and I just recounted that whole day. And then every year on his birthday for the next many years, I would write him a letter each birthday.
Really?
Yes, and on each birthday I would tell him what we had done that year and recount the experiences we had and tell him how much joy I had that he was in my life. And when he got married several years ago, my wife and I gave him those letters as a legacy that he could pass along to his children and grandchildren.
And he never knew you were writing this letter every year?
He never knew, no.
What was his reaction when you say, "Here, I want to give you this," and you tell him what it is?
Well, I think he was surprised. I mean, it actually forged a closer bond with us, and he didn't realize that I had all those thoughts and feelings for him over the years, so it was pretty emotional.
Now, I know years later, after your son gets married, his wife and him have a beautiful little boy named Ethan.
Yes.
And you're inspired again to write letters.
I was. You know, I met my pastor. I went to visit Ethan in the hospital. I met my pastor in the hospital one day, and he said, "You know, I know you wrote letters to your son, Joe." He goes, "Now Ethan's here." He goes, "So you've had 30 years as a marriage and family therapist and 30 years of mistakes and miracles in your own life." He said, "If you could write one book for Ethan, and for all children, actually, that would give them the tools that they needed to live a happy, productive, meaningful life, what would you write?" So I went home that night, picked up a pen, and did the same thing, and here comes the book.
And it's made up of 33 letters to your grandson, Ethan.
Yes, it is.
They're all very special. Is there one that stands out in your mind that you can share with my viewers?
Well, the very first letter, we talk about the purpose for living, and I recall for him an experience. All the letters have a theme behind them.
Okay.
And the first letter's on page 5 there in the second paragraph. And I told him about when I was in college. I thought I knew everything, and a professor came in one day and he gave a quiz, and it was not his customary quiz because on the back he asked an essay question. Now, this was in psychology class. He said, "Write down the first name of the woman who cleans our school." And I thought, what does this have to do with psychology? I didn't know her name. I may have passed her in the corridor, so I left it blank. And the following Monday he comes in, he has the papers, and on the paper I have a big red F on the paper like everyone else did in the class. So I raised my hand and I said, "What did a question like writing down the first name of the woman who cleans our school have to do with psychology?" And I'll never forget his answer, Christy. He sat back in his chair and he looked around the class and he said, "I think I have some pretty bright people in here." He said, "But what I think you need to know is that knowledge isn't everything and acquisitions aren't everything. But the real purpose in life, from my perspective, is to know people, to engage people, and to uplift people." And I thought, how powerful is that? So in that paragraph that I referred you to, I wrote to Ethan and I said, "What I do know for certain, though, is that whatever effort you put into knowing, engaging, and uplifting people throughout your life, it will come back to you 100-fold in the quality of your personal and professional relationships. I love you, Ethan, Grandpa."
Great words.
Thanks.
Are all the letters words of wisdom?
Yes, they're all themes. They're themes that kids deal with: faith, hope, love, friendship, drugs and alcohol, death. I mean, things that really matter to our kids and things that they struggle with as they grow up to understand.
Like I told you a few minutes ago, this book has meant the world to me because I have a letter from my grandfather. He wrote it to me days before I was born, and in the letter he writes to me in Spanish about his expectations for me, his hopes, and it's a letter that I treasure because he passed on. So I too can connect with this in so many ways, Tom.
Well, that's so powerful because what your grandfather did is not only share his legacy of love for you in the letter that you just mentioned, but today, in a way, he's reaching out to all of your viewers across America, encouraging them to understand the challenges and the obstacles that kids and grandkids face today, and then to pick up a pen and to share their wisdom with them as well. So thank you for sharing something so personal and so meaningful.
No, thank you for sharing your book.
You.
Thank you so much. And if you want to read Letters to Ethan, just go to LegacyNationUSA.com.